All right, welcome back, everybody, to High P at Home. We have another exciting edition today. I'm joined, as always, by my partner in crime, Mr. Scott Tazinski. Scotty, how are you?
Well, I'm ready to rock and roll today, Cary. I can't wait for our partner in crime. He's the one and the only.
Shane Allen. Shane,
That's it.
thanks for joining us. How are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful, man. Thanks for having me on. Looking forward to this.
Yeah, so we kind of been going through staff members and coaches this last couple of weeks, just kind of, getting to know everybody. We're looking forward to reopening soon and getting into a season, and just want to make sure everybody gets to know everybody during this time. So, Shane, you've had some changes to your household the last few months, and sure, including a pandemic. So tell us what's been going on in your life the last couple months.
Yeah, obviously, the pandemic being home a whole lot more. We've also got a granddaughter and my stepdaughter that's living with us right now. So she's 9 months. She keeps us on our toes absolutely every single day. But it's wonderful seeing the growth of her and just seeing her learn and things like that, because it's been years, obviously, since we had a baby around. So that's been interesting. But other than that, yeah, this whole pandemic of being home and really learning how to coach virtually a little bit. Luckily, I mean, I've been blessed to be with High Performance this season and have the expertise of a lot of very good coaches around. And I've learned a lot this season overall, just from being around the group of coaches. And then during this time, I'm not a huge idea man at times, and we've got some very creative people at High Performance, so it's been really neat.
Before I kick it over to Scotty, you had a little different journey into volleyball than Scotty and I did. Scotty and I started playing at a really young age. You actually were more into another sport growing up, and actually all the way through college, right? So give us an idea about your athletic journey growing up, and then how it turned into volleyball.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I like playing a lot of sports. I played baseball, I raced motocross, I played soccer. I got to high school. I did a lot of the same stuff. I ran track as well in high school, besides playing varsity baseball a couple of years. But soccer was what ended up being the sport. I went to college, played some soccer. Was blessed to have some great teammates around me and do some incredible things and learn from them. But then following college, I joined the Marine Corps. And while I was in the Marines, I played some soccer for the Marines. I played some volleyball for the Marines. And it was actually in high school, to kind of digress a little bit, it was in high school where I really kind of fell in love with the sport. The conference that my high school was in was really strong in girls high school volleyball. My mom had talked about it, she played, but that was, back in the day. So it was kind of funny hearing her talk and then seeing the girls that were playing at the time. One of the girls I was really good friends with in high school, she ended up going to University of Nebraska and was a 3-time All-American there, and then played on the national team. Her name is Stephanie Thader. And so just kind of watching her, kind of go through it, and just made it interesting. In the conference alone, we had teams that we had, and Borgia was in the conference, but they were, close, right in the same town, and on the schedule all the time. They won state, numerous years in a row. We had Washington going to state every year. Herman, New Haven, who at the times were really strong. And then I went to Union, and one of the years that Borgia won, they had a record, I think it was 38-1, and Union was the only team that beat them that season. So, I mean, it was nice, having that high quality volleyball around just really got me interested. And I had some friends, we started picking it up. Then obviously going to college, played quite a bit of sand and stuff, and which before sand was even big. But it seemed like it was a pretty big adult game. It wasn't an Olympic sport at the time. And played on the club team there a little bit. And then, as I said, went in the Marines, played. And once I got out, I really was playing a lot of sand, and I was playing indoor. I was married and I lived in Louisville, Kentucky. And I was at Ohio Valley Volleyball Center quite a bit, which is home of Kiva. And John Cordes and I got to be really good friends. His father, Ron Cordes, is the director for Kiva. His sister, Ann Cordes, was the coach at SLU, then at University of Louisville, and is now directing at Kiva as well. Got to be really good friends with him, and just kind of wanted to learn more about the game. And he kind of took me under his wing and kind of taught me. I don't want to say the basics, because he taught me a lot more than the basics. If you're ever around John, I mean, he's just, volleyball is his life. So I got to learn from him and started coaching a little bit, and then moved back to St. Louis and kind of picked it up from there. I don't know if that explains it, but it's kind of the roundabout long story.
It's beautiful, man. It's beautiful. Obviously you learned a lot from John, whose volleyball is his life, and Scott Muber. Now that you're with here, volleyball is his life. You got the baby granddaughter at home, which is pretty cool, but now you're part of the new family here at High P, obviously at Rockwood and Show Me, and now here at High P. We couldn't be happier. I couldn't be happier to have you and Ben on board. And I think it's just super cool what you guys are doing down at the South program. Obviously, it's the first time we've ever had a South program. The amount of just athletes that you guys are getting in the program right now. And I was obviously in the tryout gym with you guys this past season for the first year. I was amazed at the athletes, and I just want to kind of hear what the South is going through right now in year two.
Yeah, it was great having you. And once again, I want to say thanks. To kind of go back, I love being part of High Performance. I think it's an incredibly well-run organization. Scott Muber, it is his life, and you can tell. I mean, he puts his heart and soul into it. And that was one of the things when we did merge, last year when we merged Show Me with High Performance, was meeting with Scott. I didn't really know him, and he's so genuine, and the fact that where our vision was on the same page, and I couldn't have asked for a better opportunity than what we got with Ben and I moving over here to High Performance and bringing the entire cast that we had with us as far as coaches over. But yeah, last year having the kids in the gym, it was different. I mean, the number of kids was obviously up from what we'd ever had at Show Me. But then also just the quality of kids. When you go into the South, one thing with us starting the South program was High Performance already had a great name, and with moving High Performance STL kind of up to Powerplex, it opened up a window where we could have another High Performance where the kids could come in and get the same type of training they were getting with High Performance before, without, especially the younger kids, having to drive that extra time. Let it be 15 to 20 minutes from their home, which makes it more convenient for the parents, especially at the younger ages, but allows them to still get the training. And the quality of kids we had come in with, it was unbelievable. I think South County, the South St. Louis area, has got a ton of volleyball talent. And I was blown away with the numbers that we had coming into our clinics, and then especially to our tryouts, and being able to fill the teams. I mean, we had 2 teams at every age group this past season. Other than 11s, we had 1. And that we're looking to grow that here in the future. We're going to really try to push to grow the younger age groups the most that we possibly can. Yeah, it was phenomenal just seeing those numbers, and obviously having you in the gym. The kids love your energy and the things that you do, that you bring to the table. I mean, your resume speaks for itself, but then it's not even that. It's just the energy and the positivity that you bring that really, kind of set it off with the kids in the clinics. As we move forward, as I said, we want to grow the younger age groups. And with some of the things that have happened, unfortunately, the pandemic, we're sure that it's gonna impact some of the other clubs that are around. And not to say, hey, we don't feel for you, but I mean, obviously, if we can grow and expand and add some of those kids to our rosters, that would be even better for us. So
yeah, definitely.
I'm stoked about the future.
For sure. I feed off of a lot of energy of the other coaches, and especially the directors, and you and Ben down there have such a unique thing going. And obviously you guys know each other very well. Obviously you guys have been together for a while. And like you said, because it was our first year down there, and you're getting 2 different thoughts is what I like to always say about the South program. One was, we could have probably built another 3 or 4 teams of really good volleyball players from those tryouts. And unfortunately, in the first year, you just can't take everybody. We don't have the courts and the coaches and whatever that may be. And the second thought of that was, because of the South location, you're getting kids who may not have made a Royal team at our STL location, but instead of playing for Orange, it was like, man, I could be on the top team at South. It's a closer drive like you're talking about. And I'm playing on a really dang good team that could even potentially even compete against the Orange or the Royal teams of that same age group up at the STL location. I think that's a big credit to you and Ben of what you guys are doing down at the South location. I say down. I live 7 minutes from the building. But it's just I think it's just a cool thing, and it gives kids such another level of opportunity that was never presented to them before inside of our own program. So you're almost getting kind of like a different club that competes against the same another club, but it's in the same club. It's so hard to explain it, but it's just such a cool thing that's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny you say that. Kind of bring up with Orange, or I could go down and compete, and be on Premier. And that was a thing that happened this year. We had some teams. We had a couple of our 14 Premier team was phenomenal, and they were growing. I mean, we beat the Premier team here, beat Orange, 3 or 4 times this year, and competed with Royal. And they were a team that was going to compete in the region. And we had some other teams that were moving up as well, especially for a first year program. And I think that kind of turned some heads and opened some eyes, talking with some parents of teams like from Royal with the STL program that took notice of that. And, for the future, obviously, when we get to the older age groups, we'd love to, have all of our kids kind of push them to the STL site and compete with the Royal and the Orange. But at the younger age groups, I think that it's going to do nothing but make high performance stronger with having the Premier program and the Diamond program down at South. And as you said, we could have had more teams at a few age groups. We didn't have the coaches for that. We didn't have the facility. We didn't have the court time for that this season. But as we grow, I know, with Cary, kind of working hand in hand with him, and then with Scott's vision of what he wants out of the South program, I see some great things. I think we're going to have some amazing volleyball teams because we got some amazing volleyball talent down there. And I think the more success we have in the South is just going to build and create more success with the STL side as well as we get older. And like I said, the competition is awesome. When we have our play dates and things like that, it's so fun because, some of the team goals that we have at the South when we go in is obviously all right, we want to beat Orange, or we want to beat Royal. We want to compete with them, and it's not like a bad feel. It's a great feel. And it's all, to build the positivity within the club because they're all friends and everything like that. But I mean, there's nothing better than when you're on a court competing against a friend, maybe taking it to them. It drives us as athletes to compete against our friends. And a lot of times it's when you play your highest level, whether it's volleyball, soccer, whatever the sport may be, it drives you to be the best that you can be.
I agree, Shane. Before I switch topics here a little bit, those Sunday nights when we had all 3 programs, the South, the Illinois, the STL, all coming to Powerplex, and the competition, and just seeing some of those teams that we thought wouldn't be able to compete at the beginning of the year, and being in that environment and see the growth they had by the time we were done was really, I mean, it sounds cliche, but it's why we do what we do. It's so awesome to see the growth. And I think we're seeing that competition is fostering growth. And I think that's super healthy. I want to switch gears a little bit to focus on you a little more, and not just volleyball in the South program, but we mentioned, correct me if I'm wrong, you went to Evansville, right?
Yes.
You went to Evansville and played soccer, and went on to the military, went into the Marines. I almost made a mistake about how I said that. You still are a Marine. I'm always interested to hear about people that go into the military. We have a lot of military people with military backgrounds in our organization. And I'm always interested to hear, was this something you had thought about as a young boy? Was it something that came up in college? Is it something that you have the history in your family? Where did the military experience come from? And describe that experience for us a little bit.
Yeah, so mine was a little bit different. I mean, my dad, crazy story, my dad was a diabetic that he developed diabetes when he was like 6 years old, but he actually enlisted in the Army and got through without them knowing, went all the way through basic training and stuff without them knowing he was taking insulin. And then they actually caught him at one point, and I didn't know this story until just a few years ago, caught him taking his insulin, and they thought he was doing drugs. And then they found out he was a diabetic at that point. And you have to think this is back, in the late 60s. So, but he really wanted to be in the Army. And so he got obviously discharged from the military at that point because they couldn't have diabetics in there. But I never really, you know, I kind of grew up I was born, during the Vietnam era, and there wasn't really a lot of conflict, as at the time as I was growing up. So the military wasn't something I thought about. I always respected the military, but it wasn't until I was in college and I was doing political science, pre-law, and I wanted to go to law school, and then I had aspirations. I wanted to go into politics and things like that. And so it kind of hit me, when I was getting out of college, and I was like, all right, I need to do something else. And I actually went to look and speak to the Air Force recruiter. And I looked at that, and then I happened to speak to a Marine recruiter, and he's like, man, you want to do this? You want to be the best? And something just resonated with me with the Marines. And I ended up going into the Marine Corps, and I mean, it changed my life. I absolutely am super proud of being a United States Marine. I respect anybody that can go through. I respect all the military branches, but with the Marines, there's a certain brotherhood that's there, and you have that camaraderie forever. Some of my best friends are still my Marine buddies. But yeah, it definitely changed my life. It changed me as an individual. And it kind of turned, it changed my direction. Obviously, I didn't go into politics. I didn't do those things. Because one thing I did realize while I was in the Marines is I'm not very good at, I have an opinion, I'll say. And I expressed my opinion quite a bit. So it kind of helped me realize that maybe politics was not going to be for me. But, I wouldn't change anything about it because I had an opportunity to do some things, to travel, to do a lot of different things, and meet a lot of people. And like I said, it made me into the individual that I am today.
I might be putting you on the spot with this question. I don't know if there's a good answer here. I think there's a lot of obvious things that the military would lend towards your coaching style in terms of, punctuality, order, all those things, work ethic. I said punctuality first, Shane, sorry. Is there something that's, in your coaching style that you feel like comes from your military background that isn't as obvious, that you impart in your coaching style or your, what you're giving to the kids?
Yeah, I think, with me, one thing that, I tell kids it takes, and I've really changed. I was actually just telling my wife this. I've grown so much as a coach this year. I tell you guys that all the time. I've learned from being around you and watching how you handle things. From Scotty, I mean, just every single coach that's on our staff. I mean, I've learned, and I try to take a piece from that. I've got a lot to learn still, and a long way to grow. But one thing that I would always tell kids is it takes a special kid to play for me because I'm very demanding. But it's the discipline part with me that I think where the military kind of comes in. The discipline part, and I know we all talk about accountability, but accountability is a huge thing with me. And I think it's sometimes that maybe I can be a little bit too disciplined, or there may be times, as a coach, and I've learned a lot this year, like I said, with you guys, but where it was kind of about, I don't want to say reprimanding, but kind of getting on, maybe focusing a little too much on a negative instead of on the positive, because my thing with them is I always want them to understand, hey, there's a reason we're doing this. And kind of where I come from in the military, obviously there's higher risk if things aren't done properly, if the task isn't completed, but I want their task completion, but I want them to understand why they're doing it. So I would probably say it's the discipline side of it where I'm a little bit more strict than most coaches. I mean, you've seen me for years, and I've been known to blow a gasket at times, but I think I'm getting much better with that. And even like in Louisville this year, this last tournament that we had, having you on the bench, whenever we were there, even at times when the match wasn't going the way I needed it to go, I feel that from being around you and listening to things that you say that you look for in coaches, things like that, it made me a better coach even in those situations. So, and that's kind of that.
I always say, Shane, that there's never too much discipline. How does that go into your directing style as well?
Yeah, obviously we hold our coaches to a high standard. I like to think, Ben and I, we work really well together, and we understand each other. if we've obviously been friends for quite a while and worked together at a couple of different places. But yeah, I mean, I want my coaches to understand, the same thing as the players. I mean, I want to lead by example in the way that I do things inside the gym. Um, but I also, as any good leader wants, I mean, they want the people that are coaching for them or working for them or anything to take the lead on their own and do certain things. The biggest thing with my coaches is, I'm holding you accountable. You need to be holding your kids accountable, because there's nothing worse than, having kids, especially if they're not going to have the same coach year after year, to have a completely different style. I don't want to say style of coaching, but completely different expectations put on them from year to year. Is, well, my coach last year let me kind of get away with this, and this year, wow, what's going on here? So the sooner that we can instill that in our coaches and they can instill it into their players, obviously the better that it's going to be. And it just leads to more conformity and everyone being on the same page. I'm really big as far that's something I didn't touch on a while ago when you asked me, Cary. I'm big on uniformity. It was obvious when I had Show Me. I mean, we have the same shoes. Everything's exactly the same. I'm big into everyone being the same on my teams. Even now, I would like everyone to be the same. That way, nobody's going, oh man, I wish I had that, or I wish I had that. It's everything's the same, and so you're just going out there and playing for each other. You're not worried about how this looks or that looks, because everybody looks exactly the same, or everybody's doing exactly the same. So that's an area where I really try to stress to my coaches too. And obviously, we don't do the shoes and all that stuff now, which that's not a big issue. But just as me coming out of the military, that was something that kind of resonated with me.
For sure. I love that we're talking about this. The best teams that I've ever been on, obviously the gold medal team, some of the top teams of mine overseas, discipline and accountability were probably the biggest things that we had on that team. There's no other way of doing it, in my opinion, than making sure that you do it. And it's a life lesson that you are literally instilling into these kids at a young age, that they don't have a clue what you're instilling into them right now. But once they start to get it and they start to realize year after year, once they get into college, they're like, wow, what he made me do, what the amount of focus and discipline I had to have in every single action, every single contact of the volleyball, every single thing that I did is really making me the way that I am growing into being an adult, and I think that's the best part about, the military. I never went to the military. I was never built to be in the military. If I went there, I was going to be dead in like literally 3 minutes. And so I don't have a clue what you guys even, to grasp what you guys have to go through there to protect and serve our country is something that I could never even realize. And, I played on a lot of teams overseas that, in Turkey and in Germany, these guys have to go into the military for 2 years. And it's just a part of what they have to do to protect their country. And it's mandated by that country. But I just love that you're doing that on a volleyball team. We're very similar in that aspect as coaching styles. I see a lot of our same coaching styles in on it. Obviously, you run a lot faster offense than my guys do, and I'm going to implement that this year because I think you can never run it too fast. There's a time and a place for it. It takes a lot longer to be able to get to that point, but I just kind of want to touch on that. Cary always likes to flip it on me. He always likes to go back and forth all the time. He's my better half, I'll tell you that. But, on your team this year and the way that you played with your setters and how fast it was, how was it, adjusting to that for those kids? I know it was tough because I was in the gym with you guys and seeing that. But the bummer of it all is they were starting to get it. And
Absolutely.
Right when they started to get it, COVID hit. And it was like, oh my gosh, so I just want to touch on that. Like, how cool was to see that transformation on through with your team this year on your 15 Royal team up at the STL location?
Yeah, it was incredible. You hate to say it, COVID kicked at the wrong time. I mean, for everything, obviously, but with this group, coming in, I mean, I had a brand new starting setter that even when we finished, it had not even been a complete year since she started setting. So for her to come in and not just, run a 15 Royal team, but to the speed that we were trying to get them to go was phenomenal. I was very blessed this season. I mean, this 15 Royal team, as far as pin hitters go, it was probably the most gifted team at 15 at any age group close to that I've ever had overall. I mean, I could I had coaches that would be like, holy cow, you can change all your pins out, not have the same kid on the court, and you don't lose anything. You're just as good. And I've never had the luxury of doing that. But watching those kids progress from, November tryouts, and then we had our first practice, I guess, in December, watching them progress from that point until when we were in Louisville in very beginning of March before COVID hit, it was something special. And, as you kind of touched on, Cary was there, and it was, we finished that Louisville tournament on a loss. It was a tough loss that we should have won. I mean, but they understood it, they got it. It was, I kind of talked to them all year, and I need kids to 100% believe in me and everything that I'm trying to teach them in order for us to take big steps forward. And we were getting them kind of one at a time. And I really felt after that Louisville tournament that I had at least 10 of the 12 right there, maybe 12, but I had at least 10 of the 12, which is a great number for me to be able to take big leaps forward. They took that loss, and when we talked about it, they got it. When we came back in the gym the next day, it was a different team. You could tell that something had clicked with them as a group, and that their confidence was high. I mean, they only lost, I think it was six matches all season long, but their confidence was high, and you could tell they were going to do some great things because, we talk about going fast. This team went faster than any team I've ever had. I mean, we had the pins that could do that, had the middles that could do that, and we had a setter that, because she was so raw, I mean, I don't know that she knows how to set a high ball hardly anymore because everything's so fast. So yeah, just being able to see that and looking forward to the future with that core of kids, at 16s. I mean, I think that this next year, because we kind of got cut short, well, we definitely got cut short this year, but where we were at, once we pick back up, I think that it's going to be a special year for that group of kids as well. But yeah, I mean, it was fun, having other coaches come over just to watch how fast we were going too, because it was pretty phenomenal when they were on. I mean, and Cary can vouch for this. When they were on, they were world beaters.
Well, Shane, I tell you, I'm glad that you brought up that the Bluegrass tournament in Louisville, because one of the things I always, one of the things that I count myself lucky with the club in my position is that I get to work with so many kids, right? In your group with the after school program and the Sunday positionals and things like that. So outside of the normal team practice, I get to work with so many kids, and your group was really committed to, and I don't know how much you had to do with this, but your group was really committed to doing all the extra stuff. And it's hard a lot of times for coaches to separate results with progress, with process, right? And I think at that Louisville tournament, I remember sitting there going, I like what I see. They might be losing this set, but they might be making errors, but their errors was within the process, and they're trying to do the right things, and they're working hard. How do you struggle with that as much as I do? Just like separating the results from the process and trying to be positive with the team.
Yeah, that's an area that I feel that with your help and guidance that I feel that I improved on this year. I feel I've always been a process-oriented coach. I don't ever want to be, because we can win, but if we're not doing it the right way, I'm not happy. We can lose, and if we lose, but we play our best volleyball, I've always been completely fine with that. With this group, it was a lot easier to have that, because you could see the wheels were turning, and you could see the improvement each and every week out of these kids. And like you said, I don't know how much I had to do with them coming in there, because they were a very driven group to begin with. Like I said, I was blessed to have the talent and just the ability that they had, but then also the fact that they were so, I know Kevin Dunn hates the term bought in, but they were bought into high performance, and they were completely sold on the fact that hard work was going to pay for them. And yeah, so I mean, I was okay with them, seeing different times with them, like, okay, yeah, we're making that error, but that's because, we're trying to go a little fast here, or they're not understanding I got to change tempo at this point, just little things. So yeah, I feel probably with this team, I was a little more okay with some of the errors than I would have been some other teams had they had they been running this offense for 2 or 3 years, it would have been a lot different. But first year doing the things that they were doing, I couldn't have been happier, honestly.
Yeah, that's pretty cool to see and to hear you say that. Like, you couldn't have been more proud of that team. That's one of the best part about coaching, obviously, is seeing from the beginning to the end. That's kind of the thing that I'm struggling with about this year is, man, I had a great group of guys just like you did, and we couldn't finish, and that's what you lead the whole entire year up, is that final tournament. And like, man, we're going to shock the whole entire freaking United States of America. And we didn't get that opportunity. Really leading forward to next year. And obviously you just alluded to, you're going to take over that team again next year. I mean, you're going to keep with that same speed? You're going to change it up? Or you're like, hey, we're going right back at it? I mean, I know the Shane Allen mentality. We're going right back at it for sure.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we don't have to even start off slow this year, kind of like take baby steps like we did this past season. We're going to start off and just go as fast as we can. The more confident they get in that. And the funny thing is, just being in the gym with individuals, over the last few weeks, one of them being the setter, she's working on as fast as she can possibly go and just being as good as she can at that level that we need to play at. Same thing with some of the pins, same thing with the middles. I mean, one area that we're going to kind of that I don't want to say we're going to struggle with, that we have to address with this group is we had a very, very good libero this season. And I mean, she was a phenomenal athlete. She was also my captain, phenomenal leader. And she's moving to North Carolina. So we're losing that piece. So we've got, that's a piece that we've got to replace, because her first contacts they were incredible. She's got a very bright future ahead of her, during high school club. But I mean, she's a Division I libero. She is, and like I said, an awesome leader. So we've got to replace that part. But yeah, I mean, we've got other kids around. We've got 6 rotation outsides. We've got a great DS right now that's in there. So yeah, we're just looking to go forward. And like you said earlier, one thing I love, I always try to preach to kids that sports is awesome. I love sports. It's made me, part of the person that I am. But how much better does it get for us as coaches to get to teach these kids life lessons through sport? I mean, it's the most incredible way to learn life lessons. I mean, think about before that. I mean, you had to learn stuff the hard way. Now you're learning life lessons with enjoying yourself. I mean, and it teaches us so much. Like you said, with life, whether it's the Olympics or if it's going to a corporate job or going out and doing some manual labor. I mean, everything, the military, I learned stuff through sports for the military and vice versa. So, I mean, we have a great job with what we do, and I feel blessed and thankful every day to have this, that God has gifted me with this ability to do this. And I'm also, like I said, and I say it a lot because I truly mean it, to be gifted and blessed to be around the group of people that I'm surrounded by.
Well, let's have some little bit of fun. Let's step away from volleyball for a second. You've had some time, on your own or with your family at home. You probably had to invent some ways to have fun. But 3 things that you enjoy doing outside of volleyball. Nothing to do with volleyball.
3 that I love traveling. My wife and I are pretty big foodies. So I mean, when we go places, I mean, we want to experience the best restaurants and things like that. So we love to travel. Florida, obviously, I love Florida. We usually go to Mexico every season. I love, let's see, what else? I love float trips. I love things like that. And then, I mean, for me, I'm pretty easy. I really love just hanging out with friends. I mean, I don't think there's anything better. I love my family. I count as friends too, but I don't think there's anything better than just a group of people that you can relate to on some of those. It doesn't, not necessarily your job, but that you can just go out, just relax. If we hang out, we don't even have to talk about volleyball. We can talk about a million other things, and that's completely fine. But also, I love going to wineries too.
You left out the thing the number one thing I thought you were going to say.
What's that?
Karaoke.
I do. I like to sing. I don't want to try to push that a lot, but I do enjoy singing. And if we're hanging out, chances are uh, there's going to be some singing happening at some point there. So
What's the
uh,
go-to song? What's your number one
Yes.
song?
probably Garth Brooks' "The Dance" is one of my favorite songs to sing. I it might sound crazy to some people that go and sing karaoke for fun or something, but I probably got a list of about 150 songs that I can just go and kind of sing. So that's another area where I kind of it's been a blessing because I'm a pretty decent singer, and I've had the opportunity to sing with some really neat people and some good band members and musicians and things like that. So yeah,
Oh,
karaoke's fun.
that is, Cary, thanks so much for bringing that up, man, because I feel like there needs to be a trip with me and Shane to Japan and go to a karaoke spot, and we could just kind of bust that thing out, man. Those some of
Only
my
if a camera crew follows you. Only
oh
if a
boy,
camera crew follows you.
some of my favorite memories overseas are at a Chinese karaoke spot or a Japanese karaoke spot, and I could imagine seeing Shane inside of there. It would just be like, it's like a dream of mine right now. Holy moly. Thanks, Cary.
I think that
Okay,
would be a fun time. We should try that.
we could have a blast. You know that, Shane. Okay, question for you, Shane, because this is normally Cary's question, but I think I get to ask it today. So the club that you most, not hate, but you love to play against with your teams.
Oh, let's see. Well, I mean, there's one obviously that comes to mind locally.
How about outside the region? How about
Outside
Okay.
the region, great job. See, that's why Cary always asks this question, because he knows how to phrase it better than I do.
Yeah, so outside the region, let's see, it'd probably be um, either like maybe TAV or I'll tell you what, I really love competing against Kiva. From starting off, I love competing against Kiva because I know they're always going to be well coached. They're going to be very disciplined, and it's going to be a great match.
Well, most favorite player you've ever coached?
My favorite player that I've personally ever coached.
Yes.
Oh man,
I'm putting you under the spot. I heard the dance by Garth Brooks, and I say, you know what? We're going to put Shane underneath the spot right now.
You can give us a few. I know you don't want to.
I was gonna say I'm gonna get some phone calls or some texts after people.
Yeah, because we got at least 20,000 people watching this podcast.
Oh,
so.
absolutely. Okay, Andrew Beatty was probably
Home.
Yeah, probably my favorite. Let's see, probably who on that team? Paige Perigo. I love coaching Paige.
Who coaches for us now?
Yep,
yes.
Exactly.
And then probably right there at the top as well is probably Bethany Basansone.
Bam. Hey, you know what, man?
I have a list of kids. I mean, that I could go down and I mean, that I absolutely just loved coaching. But the ones that I probably are the closest with even now, I mean, Michaela Hardy was amazing to coach. I mean, if you ask a kid that you'd ask her to do something, she just does it. I coached Michaela. And I say this, and I don't ever mean this disrespectfully. She's not the most athletically gifted kid, but man, when it comes to volleyball, she's amazing. She did more with what she was given than anyone I've ever met. But yeah, I've been lucky enough to coach some really amazing players in my career, and just that were not just fun, but that were just great players. And they're all different in their own way, but just with the personalities. Bethany we always joked around and said she was like my daughter. And then Andrea, I mean, I love it. Andrea was my assistant coach for years and played for me, and they're right there.
That's awesome, Shane. This is a lot of fun. Appreciate you taking the time out to talk with Scotty and I. Looking forward to getting back in the gym. Everybody kind of do what they need to be doing and keep up the good work, because the end is in sight and there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and we're going to be back in the gym soon with everybody. So thanks again, Shane. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you guys for having me on. I appreciate it. Great time.
Thanks, Shane.
guys.
Appreciate it, bud.
He's